Welcome to the Back Row Fantasy Show with your hosts, Jeremy Barker, Aaron Arms, and Chad Niddle.
Hey everybody, it's another episode of the Back Row Fantasy Show with me, Bark, and Arms to my left.
Good morning.
And Knit to my right.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. What went on your fantasy football weekend? Have any luck there, Barker?
I did not have any luck at all. I got beat by what we consider to be the evil empire of our league.
Also the commish.
Yep, the commish guy. Got beat by him because I didn't start Ebron. I started Kittle, who still put up an okay fantasy day, but no Ebron for me. And Darius Leonard out. It was just a perfect storm. And Patty Mahomes not really doing what Patty Mahomes normally does. Perfect storm of crap for me. It just didn't happen this week.
I mean, do you expect Patty Mahomes to continue to put up an average of, 5 touchdowns a game?
No, but I do not expect him to throw 2 picks and no touchdowns.
Fair.
I did.
Not what I want.
Not that bad, but yeah. Rough defense to go against. Real rough defense to go against. Jaguars are still as solid as we anticipated them being.
Even though Kansas City blows them out. I mean, absolute blow. I don't understand.
I kept looking like, is this misprinted?
Like, why?
On the box score, I'm like, all right, so somebody's got 3 rushing touchdowns? No. All right, man, somebody's got to have was there an end around pass? What's going on here? No.
No, they just somehow scored more, and that was it.
That's usually how you win the game.
Typically, yes.
But not. I mean, usually blowouts you get stats somewhere.
Anywhere. But,
yeah, anyway.
But it's like
literally no one had. Like Kelsey had 100 yards receiving, and
I think Hunt did okay. So
yeah, Hunt's looked a lot better the last 2 games than he did the first handful.
Which, a talking point, is that a transition from Andy Reid trying to get him re-involved, or just game flow? Teams they're playing dictate that.
Yeah, and luckily they have Kareem Hunt to fall back on and a pretty solid defense. And the yardage was still there. I mean, Patty Mahomes still moved him up and down the field. It just wasn't throwing touchdowns. It was moving him up and down the field. And, Kareem Hunt gets a score. Patty Mahomes got into the end zone on his legs. So, I mean, Patty Mahomes is still doing what Patty Mahomes needs to do. It's just for fantasy, we were a little bit disappointed. Amen, brothers. C.J. Beathard was a top 5 quarterback this week.
Well, I'm totally buying into that.
You are?
No, but actually he's had all right weeks back to back. Nothing amazing last week, but this week did quite well. Kyle Shanahan's a brilliant man. I mean, what's not to think that he can't do a different version of this from the rest of the year?
Unfortunately, that brilliance lost him a game, but
they're struggling right now.
I don't care what San Fran does. I need him for fantasy purposes.
But they're struggling. That team's struggling all around. Now, C.J. Beathard's in a good spot with, like you said, Kyle Shanahan around him. And they have pieces. I mean, they have the wide receiving core. They have George Kittle. They have, when Matt Breida is healthy, a decent running back. So he's surrounded with at least some talent to get it done. 350 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing TD. Doubt that's going to happen next week.
Right.
Regardless of who he plays, but I mean, the guy can. He's shown that he's capable of handling this Kyle Shanahan offense.
Yeah, that's very true, and he's got George Kittle. He's got his college tight end to throw to. That always helps matters out a little bit. And honestly, outside of that, what weapons does he have? I mean,
well, it appears that he's a fan of Trent Taylor.
Yeah.
Which, kind of shocked me throughout the beginning of the year that Taylor was so underutilized. But this game, he corrals 7 out of 8 targets, 61 yards and a touchdown, which is nice to see.
It's like a very small George Kittle is what Trent Taylor is to C.J. Beathard.
He's like half a George Kittle.
Yeah, he's like Kiki Kuti light.
I don't know. Is he that light? I don't know.
I don't know. Either way, it's one of those guys that Beathard's like, who can I hit short?
I mean, honestly, you've been playing on the second team with him all in practice. Even though Taylor does start, he's still playing on the second team with him, and built some rapport with him, and it's worked.
54 attempts, though. I mean, I personally, I didn't get to watch this game, but when you have to throw the ball 54 times, you should have some stats. This one, nobody watched it, let's be honest. Unless you're a Cardinals or a 49ers fan, you didn't watch this game. I know the Cardinals were up for most of it, but C.J. Beathard having to throw the ball 54 times, not a whole lot going on the ground. Matt Breida got 8 carries, 56 yards, so a lot of it was just volume yardage, volume touchdowns, really, for C.J. Beathard. Don't expect it going forward.
I mean, but as a team, they put up 147 rushing yards. If I would have told you one of the teams that one of the teams in this game was going to do that, you'd have figured they'd won.
Oh, the stats said the 49ers blew them out, but whenever you throw 2 interceptions, lose 3 fumbles, well, you're going to lose football games when you turn the ball over 5 times. That's what happened to the 49ers on Sunday.
And when you got a guy like Budda Baker putting up 15 total tackles and a sack, it means the 49ers were having problems moving the ball. Not to mention Amanda's brother, Josh Bynes, also 11 tackles and a sack and a fumble recovery. Even Hassan Reddick got in on this one with 8 tackles and a sack. I mean, they were getting to the quarterback all game long. So C.J. Beathard, when you drop back 50 sometimes, you could probably expect to get sacked a handful of times, maybe even 3 to 5 like he did.
Yeah. But moving down the line, Tom Brady, what was all the excitement about Tom? Like, to me, Tom Brady just did Tom Brady things last Thursday. Like, 341 yards, 3 pass TDs.
Well, there's always the anticipation that it's like, well, Father Time's caught up with Tom Brady. Father Time, listen, they've got a deal. Tom Brady's worked out a deal with the devil, and he's not going to get older until he's ready to get older.
He's going to age quickly once it happens.
Yes.
But I didn't understand it. Like, everyone's like, Tom Brady's back, man. It's like, dude, he never really left.
No, he never
It was
went
a slow start to the season, but he didn't have a wide receiving core at all.
His numbers were nearly identical from last week, tack on 60-some yards worth of passing, but it's been 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 games in a row. The interceptions are weird. Sorry, microphone. The interceptions are odd because Tom Brady typically doesn't throw 6 through the first 5 weeks of the season. So
right.
That's a little bit off, but I do want to reverse real quick. If you did listen to us, me and Arms we're very high on announcing our hits from the weeks. Christian Kirk helped you out if you did listen and insert him in as a flex. So from that Arizona-San Francisco game. But back to Brady, yeah. I mean, he's not going anywhere. He's still going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But should we account for at least a pick or 2 per game out of Brady now?
I don't think that's necessary. I mean, Tom Brady's, still one of the best to ever do it. Give me some consistency of what, I don't know, we consider quote-unquote poor play, which I still don't think it's poor play. It's just, it happens.
It's not elite play.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you hit a receiver in the hands and it shoots up in the air and it's an interception. It counts against quarterback.
It happens. But we got to remember he has thrown less than 10 interceptions 4 years in a row, and it doesn't look like that's the case this year. And that's not me saying Brady's done. Nothing like that. Some of the best quarterbacks in the game throw interceptions, double digits, 10, 12, 14.
Eli Manning usually throws 20-plus a year.
I said best quarterbacks I said some of the best quarterbacks in the game.
He's got 2 rings.
He's the worst quarterback in the NFL right now.
He is the worst.
No, he's not.
Who's worse?
Dak Prescott.
Nope.
Nope. Eli Manning's a worse quarterback.
I'd rather start Dak. If you put Dak on the Giants, and listen, I'm not reversing on this whole Dak thing. I still think Dak sucks. I think Eli sucks more. I think you put Dak on the Giants.
Don't get me wrong. No, all jokes aside, Eli is bad, but
he's real bad.
Dak is atrocious.
Eli is
He's
atrocious.
not, though. Dak's not atrocious. He's a decent quarterback with absolutely no weapons. I mean, name their tight end. They don't have one.
How does Ezekiel Elliott end up like 150 rushing yards a game? Is their line that bad? Because
calm down on Dak Prescott hate. Let's just get through the top 10 without talking about the 24th overall quarterback.
Is it Dak hate or is it Eli love?
I don't know. I can't. I'm having trouble. Like,
it's not even Eli Love. Like
Eli's like the third best quarterback on the Giants behind
Odell.
All I'm saying is he's not the worst.
That was a pretty pass.
Carolina.
That was a
It
pretty
was.
pass. It was
He's
a
not.
nice pass.
He's not the worst quarterback in the league. Give me a break. Once again, that's Dak Prescott.
I'm gonna say worst quarterback in the league is Eli. I've got to.
It's
I've got
pretty bad.
now. Dak's close to me.
He's not far off, but I mean, you could take it like Ryan Tannehill tried to complete a pass to the back of his offensive lineman that went for a pick six. So that dude folds under pressure.
I just don't know how much more I can watch of Tannehill. How much more I can watch of Adam Gase giving Frank Gore carries. Here, this is what we were talking about pre-show, and this is probably going to apply to some more games on down the line. But you have an aging running back, right? Whose name is not Adrian Peterson. He's not going to break one for you.
Not even going to come close.
And Nick made a good point. In today's NFL, if you don't have a running back in that backfield that can take it the distance, you don't have a 2018 NFL running back.
No.
Because that's what you need, an Isaiah Crowell.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So what
Yes,
you're saying is everybody in the league needs Isaiah Crowell.
Well, what I was saying,
Basically.
what I was saying, more than that, in modern NFL, what I was saying was, you have to have playmaking ability. Not necessarily at running back. You can have a Frank Gore on your squad as your starting running back if you can throw the ball downfield and have wide receivers that can get it done and take it to the house.
I agree.
And then you can pound out 4 to 5 yards per run and put yourself in good second and short, third and short situations. But when you have Ryan Tannehill and Frank Gore, I mean, dude,
Nothing is scary.
It's not happening.
that you can't. Exactly. Nothing scary. Like, you can start thinking about the next offense as a defensive coordinator. Like, in your week prep for the Dolphins, you're like, who do we play next? The bye week? All right, where am I going partying that weekend? Because I don't care about the Miami Dolphins offense.
Yeah. When Cincinnati was coming to the stadium, they were probably thinking, like, now this defense is somewhat formidable, so who are we going to make the focal point of our offense? But defense, if you guys just want to skip the warm-ups for this one and go back and play a game of Madden, it's just Tannehill and Gore, guys. So go ahead and play some Madden. If you want to play the Dolphins and say that's how you prepped, then go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah.
But don't put in Osweiler. It might be a little more dangerous with Osweiler. So this is as a Dolphins fan.
What are we going to do against the Miami Dolphins offense in Tannehill? We're going to run man-to-man on the outside, 2 safeties, and blitz 4. Like that.
There you
that's
go.
it. And they're beat. They can't do anything. Brutal.
There you go. Atlanta and Pittsburgh wasn't the shootout that we were looking for.
No.
I mean, it was if you're a Steelers fan.
It looked like it early, but then Atlanta just kind of fell apart. I mean, they just fell apart. The defense for the Steelers actually looked good for a minute, but then again, it was that offense getting up by the 3 scores. What was it, 17 points, something like that, halfway through the third, and it was kind of desperation mode for Matt Ryan, and then he started getting sacked and pressured, not completing balls. Julio didn't catch a ball until the late third, I believe.
And I mean, honestly,
Austin Hooper did that.
Austin Hooper was a monster. He was okay.
So
He was hooping it up.
So he's going to not play for the next 2 games. His hands hurt. He's got way too many balls this game.
I don't know, man. Austin Hooper.
Oh, give me a break. Just don't even start.
Okay,
I'll tear that down.
Can we talk about the return real quick of James Conner with 185 and 2 total yards?
Against the worst defense in the NFL.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
This is the worst.
I agree. I'm not saying that this was a James Conner talent game. I'm saying in the right matchups, he is very startable in fantasy. Extremely startable in the right matchups because you have to worry about Ben, Juju, and Antonio.
So to stick with Connor, I've been hearing some rumblings. The rumor is Lev's coming back after week 7.
Right.
Okay. Has this become somewhat to where you still have to give James Conner some run?
No.
So
I don't
you
believe.
genuinely think after what he's done for the first 5 games that they could just put him on the bench call today?
It's Lev. Listen, I'm not trying to go complete 180 on the arguments we've had on Lev, but To me, Lev 1 has to apologize to his teammates, and his teammates should apologize to him. I'm not saying it's a one-way street.
Yeah.
They all need to apologize to each other if he's going to come back and play for Pittsburgh. But no, I don't think you have to give. I think Connor will be the guy to spell Lev. Like, you winded Lev, we can put James in there for a couple plays.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I like the way James Conner has played against bad defenses, but Lev Bell can play that way against good defenses.
Against
so
all defenses.
I'm not. I don't expect James Conner to have much of a role when Lev comes back. Granted,
they don't need
sides
they don't
apologize.
need James Conner.
No.
I mean, when Lev's back, you don't need James Conner except for those 5 to 6 touches a game to give him a breather, and that's basically it.
Yeah, you basically say, James, that was a great audition for next year. Be ready because Lev's probably not going to be here.
Yeah, I get that.
I was just curious because I know he's done well to this point in the season, and
I wouldn't say
I'm with
though.
Nit. Against bad defenses, he's done well.
He weeks 2 through 4, he hasn't broke 100 yards combined. He has like 90-something yards over 3 game span. So, is he a good backup running back? Yeah, but if I'm the Steelers, I'm not banking on him in the future.
No, and I think he can be a good starter. Like, I think another year, and if James Conner's the guy in 2019 and Lev walks, I'm going to draft James Conner. I'm not drafting him in the first 2 rounds, but like if he's still there in round 3 or 4 and he's the starter, I'm going to take him because I think he can get it done. But if Lev's on your team, there's really no reason to give him much run.
I've played James Conner in the flex all season long with having Gurley and Fournette. Fournette's been down. He's actually been my starter, and I've picked up a 3rd running back for a flex spot in one league. So, yeah, I mean, do I believe James Conner is a fantasy asset right now? Yeah, but Lev comes back. He's rendered useless. He'll be my first cut.
it's going to be an interesting,
Actually, I'll trade him to the Lev owner just in case.
That's exactly what I would do. But it's going to be interesting for whoever the Le'Veon Bell owner is whenever Lev first comes on the field. I mean, is it, all right, he's back. It's week 7. He's ready to go. And do they give Lev 10 carries to get him acclimated to game speed?
I am curious about that. I mean, it could go either way.
I mean, by all I haven't seen anything of him working out. I've seen a lot of him partying in Miami. So what kind of shape's he in? I'm sure it's Le'Veon Bell. I'm sure he's in great shape.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not a 34-year-old fantasy football analyst like us. I mean, I'm sure he's keeping his body in so much shape. Yeah, he's 25 years old. He can eat all the double cheeseburgers he wants. He's probably not going to put on that much weight.
Yeah, double cheeseburgers help you cut whenever you're that age. I mean,
it fuels your workout.
Yeah, that's just kind of the way it goes. But since you transitioned there, Nit, on Fournette, is it time to...
I didn't mean to pivot like
That's
that.
okay.
I'm trying to stay with the quarterbacks, but we keep...
We can definitely
Let's
go back
pivot.
in just a second. I just want to slip in the buys. I'm going to give my red alert buy of the week here. I think it is time to buy cheaply, if you can, TJ Yeldon. And I think it's a no-brainer. Corey Grant went down with a season-ending Lis Frank injury. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Am I right on that?
Where's the Lis Frank?
It's in the footies, I think. I think it's in the footies. But
yes.
Leonard Fournette,
Lis
listen,
Frank?
from the get-go, from the pre-draft process, where my insider information told me his ankle was never going to be 100% the same, which is going to cause hamstring problems, which is looking like the truth. TJ Yeldon's in a prime position to be very fantasy relevant all year. I'm not saying grab him and start him every game, but start him when Fournette's not.
I wish I would have done the same thing. Being the Fournette owner, I wish I would have picked up TJ Yeldon. When it crossed my mind, hamstring, not a big deal, protecting him for a couple of games. I'm going to pass on Yeldon. Already was kind of rostered out at the time. Didn't have a spot for him. Man, kicking myself on that one. Really wish I had some TJ Yeldon because, like you said, pre-show, he is an absolute fantasy asset when Leonard Fournette's down, when he's given the opportunity to run the ball. TJ Yeldon just proves that he should be. He's very James Conner-like. I mean, he's going to put up the numbers that Fournette's missing.
Indeed.
I mean, Yeldon was a very capable back in college, never really got all the run in the NFL at any point. And to this point now, he really hasn't got all the carries ever. But, he looks fine whenever he does get the carries. And To me, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm, thinking of someone else, but it seems like he's slimmed down a little bit over the past couple of years. Maybe got a step quicker because he always seemed a little bit more lumbering to me, like kind of like a small Derrick Henry or a small Bo Scarborough type player. But
he's always had top end speed. He's always been more of an athlete than those two. Like at Alabama, he was their punt or he was their kick returner. So he was.
Once again, I could have him confused with somebody else because this is 4 or 5 years ago.
I actually think you're right because like Nitt's right that he has top end speed. He does. But you're kind of right in watching the game tape because Jacksonville hasn't opened up holes for T.J. Yeldon in the past. They just now are becoming an offense that can actually run and pass the ball. Whenever T.J. Yeldon got his chance, he couldn't get to the second level because the line wasn't good and the Jacksonville offense wasn't good. Now that we're seeing him get to the second level behind a better line and a better offense, we're seeing him be able to accelerate to that speed.
Yeah. Now, when you say that the Jaguars can run and pass the ball, you do mean like Bortles is good at passing the ball. Just unfortunately, like this past week, 4 of them went to the other team.
Right. Good transition back to quarterback. Yeah, Bortles sucked a little bit.
Trying to keep you pivoting in. Fantasy asset, yes. Did he lose the game single-handedly for the Jaguars? Yes, he also did.
Yes, he did.
That's the thing about the NFL. Like, there's no, you always get there's no I in team. We win together, we lose together. Blake Bortles single-handedly lost that game. Don't throw. They weren't bobble picks. They weren't hitting receivers in the chest and them dropping. He just threw 4 picks.
That was some borderling, as Arms has called it in the past. It was some straight-up borderling.
61 attempts, you're probably going to throw a pick, but the reason you threw it 61 times is because you threw so many early, turned the ball over early. Ugly game for Blake Bortles. Really not an ugly game for the rest of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You hold an elite offense like the Kansas City Chiefs to 30 points. I said hold them to 30 points, but that's actually an accomplishment when you throw 4 interceptions. I mean, when you give them 4 extra possessions and hold the best offense in football to 30 points, that's a really good outing by your defense, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, once again, everyone figures Mahomes is going to continue to go off, and Tyreek Hill ended up with 2 touchdowns, and none of that happened this week. I mean, it's pretty impressive with what Jacksonville's defense did or was able to accomplish, even with continuously having a short field against them, continuously, all right, we just got the ball back, and now they've got the ball back, and we're back on the field.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill is actually fairly impressive in the matchup with Jalen Ramsey on the outside. I mean, Jalen Ramsey comes in this thing just talking all kinds of smack, which
he has every right to.
He does, and he does have a good trash talking game. Like they are asking about his matchup with Tyreek Hill. He's like, I didn't know I had to cover the punt returner or something. Like their special teams, whatever he said. But I mean, the guy has mad game, but mad trash talking game and mad game. But so does Tyreek Hill. That was an interesting to watch. Tyreek goes 4 for 60, has a big play in there. I think this would you can't really call a winner on that, especially because, like you just said, they were on a short field. The numbers kind of dictate Jalen Ramsey won this matchup, but then again, Tyreek wasn't necessarily needed. So
I mean, you also see Jalen Ramsey shut down,
AJ Green.
Yeah, AJ Green.
He'll shut down any
Julio
type
Jones,
of
those type of players. I mean, he's basically telling everyone that they suck, and then going out and proving it.
Right.
Over and over again. You're like, all right, whatever you say, Jalen. You're right.
I really wanted to see Jalen match up against Sammy Watkins and just see what happens there. I'm going to go 0 catches.
Oh, I guarantee it'd been 0 catches.
Let's run down some of the quarterbacks that did get it done for you. Aaron Rodgers was the number 1 quarterback this week
in a loss.
It appears to be fully healthy now.
Yeah, he's looking more Aaron Rodgers-like, making guys like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you're welcome, look really solid. And Equanimeous St. Brown catches 3 for 85 in that game. I'm not, not a massive deal, but it just shows that Aaron Rodgers can literally take any receiver and make them put up at least yards.
Everyone knows we're ESB fans, or at least I am. But don't buy too much into this.
Oh, no,
Let's
no,
not get carried away.
No.
This was another
Scantling, different story. If every time Cobb misses a game, Valdez-Scantling is capable.
You're going to get the uptick there. But, again, this was game flow, too. Whenever you go back to it, like, I don't think the Packers scored before halftime. I'm almost positive
Actually,
they had.
You're right. It was
Or maybe a late drive.
It was 24-0 at half.
Yeah, I mean, this was totally game flow. They came out the second half and just threw the ball. They had to throw the ball all across the yard using all hands on deck. So, to me, the Packers are a good team. They're not going to get down by 24 early like this very often. This was just more of a once in a season type of thing. So I don't know. Again, Randall Cobb goes down. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is relevant.
Geronimo Allison was also out too, so
which helped ESB become a little relevant. And
yeah,
I was expecting more out of Ty Montgomery in this game, but it didn't really happen. Him and Aaron Jones, neither.
It didn't fantasize.
It didn't come to fruition.
Yeah, but was it bad? It didn't fantasize. But we'll flip it over to Matthew Stafford. I mean, you expect them. I was expecting this shootout with Aaron Rodgers, and it was like, yeah, we're way up, so we don't need Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about a certain guy on the Lions here in a minute, but we'll run through the rest of these quarterbacks. We already talked about Beathard having a good game. Andrew Luck is having a good season.
Yeah.
And it's not like record-breaking. It's not on pace to be his best, but Andrew Luck is having a good season coming back from not playing football in well over a year. And I'm quite impressed by how much better he makes Indianapolis. Not that they're winning a bunch of games, but they're competitive.
I mean, he's not Peyton Manning, but it's almost that Peyton Manning effect. You remove him, and the team wins a game or two. You add him back in, and even if they don't win 13 games, they're going to be in 13 games.
Yeah. Right. I'm going to be a little harsh here. You say competitive. I say they're more exciting than last year. I don't think they're competitive. They're still a bottom 5 team. This is a terrible Indianapolis Colts team. I mean, they have no running game. Their defense outside of Darius Leonard is no pass rush, no secondary. I mean, they're not competitive to me whatsoever, and they need Andrew Luck to throw the ball 59 times.
Okay, so the Colts win 19-17, and I'm looking at preseason. They lose to the Bengals 34-23. To me, that's competitive. They beat the Redskins 21-9. They lose by 4 to the Eagles, competitive, by 3 to the Texans. Patriots, a little different story. They did lose by 2 touchdowns, but I'm not going to go on and on about the Colts or anything. But I mean, but they do play teams well. I mean, they're not.
They haven't played anybody up to this point. I know you said the Eagles, but it was a wounded Eagles team that they just definitely lost to. They were the Texans' only win coming into this week. I mean, the Colts just aren't good.
I see them as competitive.
Andrew Luck helps keep them in games is the point. That's where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are they winning all the games? No, but remember, the only thing they have now on defense is 2 safeties and a linebacker. I mean, that's it.
Right. Now, moving on, Case Keenum. Case Keenum kept things relevant and threw his first touchdown pass since week 1. Case Keenum's just not very good, guys.
And who did it go to?
What, the
Cortland Sutton.
Our homeboy, Cortland.
Yeah, I expected a little bit more out of Cortland for this game. I think 2 catches, I believe 18 yards and a touchdown. I mean, if the kid's getting it done, just target him. God, target him. But Demaryius did come away with a decent game this week instead.
Rounding out the top 10, you had your usual suspects. Big Ben, Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz getting a little better every game coming off the knee. Phillip Rivers, and despite the interceptions, no, I'm not even going to say Blake Bortles, because in our league format, yes. In your league format, I guarantee Bortles was not a top 10 quarterback. We just have a lot of points for passing yardage and completions and all kinds of crazy stuff. But, yeah, Sam Darnold looked good as well. I'll throw him in there.
All right.
Looked decent behind the back of super athlete Isaiah Crowell.
I want to talk a little bit about Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
And kind of being middle of the road up to this point.
Yeah,
he's had some ups.
Started out hot.
Yeah,
I think we can say he started hot. He has cooled.
He has cooled. That offense has cooled a little bit, but I'm not sure what's going on there. Like if I'm a Kirk Cousins owner, or if I paid high for him, I'm a little maybe frustrated with the fluctuations, the big game, little game, big game, little game. I don't know. Just Kirk's got to find some consistency. He's going to go through a stretch where he plays Cardinals, Jets, Saints, Lions over the next 4 weeks.
Just to clarify, he is the number 3 quarterback right now.
Yeah, he is.
I mean,
But it's
you can't
total
be
up
too
down.
upset.
No. It's up down. It's up down.
He started really hot. I mean, we're talking a 50-point game in 2. It's just that inconsistency. Like Kirk is going to win you a game, lose you a game, win you a game, lose you a game.
But he's not pulling an Eli Manning, giving you 50 points in 4.
All
and
right.
then 50 points and then 4. At least his floor in the 20s isn't bad, guys.
Well, where I was going with this, good God, would you let me finish my point, is he a matchup quarterback? Thank you. Let me get to the point. Is he more of a matchup quarterback? When he's playing a decent defense, he seems to have a down game. Or is he truly your number 3? Like, I know he's been top 10.
See,
I'm not going to call him a matchup quarterback because he torched the Rams.
Yeah, he torched the Rams, torched the Packers, and struggled with the Bills, struggled with the Niners, and struggled with the Eagles. I mean, his big games, one of them definitely against a top-flight defense. The other one, Packers, just, they are what they are.
Yeah, all right.
His completion percentage, touchdowns, interceptions are all good. I just think fantasy-wise, like, he is going to be hit and miss, so I totally understand Niddle's point.
By the way, it is just mind-blowing every time you look at their box score. It's like, and there's 2 guys with 100 yards receiving. Wow. Every week, it seems like Thielen and Diggs, 100 yards apiece.
It's a nice little stack. Moving on to running backs, Gurley, getting sick of even saying it. Gurley was your number 1 running play. We called playing Gurley this week, didn't we? I think everyone in fantasy football called playing Gurley.
There wasn't a sit.
Yes, at this point, it's just a joke. Like,
yeah.
He's good. If you have him and you don't play him, you are bad. Like, that is the only I'd play Todd Gurley with half of his right foot cut off. He's going to be okay.
He'd probably be faster with his right foot cut off.
It's not bad.
Get a little more spring out of that nub.
Yeah. I do want to say my starting running backs this week in Todd Gurley, James Conner. So I had a good week, but it's still up in the air. I still don't have a victory.
Chad, I have
crap.
I play in so many leagues. Every time one of my players score, they're scoring against me in another.
Oh
league.
yeah.
I'm just sitting there like,
I hate
yes,
that
no.
too.
Like last night or yesterday, whenever Odell Beckham threw that touchdown to Saquon, I'm like, yes, and I wasn't playing Odell or Saquon in any other leagues. I had them together in one league. I'm like, oh my God, Eli's not throwing that touchdown. This is great.
I love the more leagues you're in, the more on Monday night you're like, okay, I need Drew Brees to score exactly 23.2 points.
Yes, yes, you got
to win this one,
out.
lose the other.
I'm gonna need Alvin Kamara to throw a touchdown to Michael Thomas here, and Drew Brees to throw 4 interceptions tonight. But that's it. That's it.
It's the ultimate battle of Todd Gurley scores 3 touchdowns, and you're like, yes! And then you switch leagues, you're like, no! What is my emotion? I don't know how to feel.
What are the odds I'm playing Todd Gurley this week?
I don't know
Well,
how
about
to feel.
100%. You're in that many leagues. It's about 100%.
But Gurley and Connor, 1 and 2. Isaiah Crowell, the super athlete, was number 3.
We said buy Isaiah Crowell shares all offseason.
We did not, unfortunately. We talked about him in dumpster fire references, and he's still inconsistent as all get out, but man, he does have some big games so far. Saquon Barkley is, red alert. I think Saquon Barkley is a pretty good running back. Seems to be, fantasy proof.
And he's always breaking
quarterback
one.
is.
He's always breaking a big. He always
He's
has a
doing
big
what
play.
Frank Gore doesn't, and he breaks them.
So go back to Isaiah Crowell real quick.
Do we have to?
Yes.
Okay.
Because before you buy too much into this, realize his big games are against the frickin' Lions and the Broncos, who both allow a ton of yards per carry. Struggled with the Dolphins. Struggled a little bit with the Browns. Did get
0 yards against the Jaguars.
Yeah, literally had 4 carries for 0 yards against the Jags.
That's an average of 0 yards per carry.
Now, with that being said, he is playing the Colts next week, so he's probably going to put up 300 yards this week.
And then the Vikings, he'll probably have like -14.
Yeah,
Right.
so if you've got him, my God, sell him. But you should have done that after week 1.
This is Jay Ajayi from 2 years ago, is what Isaiah Crowell
Basically,
is.
Ends up with a good season,
Basically, yeah.
But off 3 games of 200 yards.
Correct.
basically.
If you look at the end of the season and see his total stat line, you're like, oh my God, the dude averaged 14 yards a carry. It was over 3 games.
Right. Well, moving on, we had T.J. Yeldon. He put up over 100 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown.
Talked about it a little
we
bit.
touched on him a little bit. James White doing what James White does. He's a top 10 running back, plain and simple, because of the role he has on the Patriots. I don't think that's going to change this year.
10 receptions is his high, but I mean, I expect him to have at least, well, he's had 3 and 4, but as his role has expanded and this offense gets better, I think he stays at that 5 or 6 receptions per game and still kicking in like 40 yards, which is 4 fantasy points.
I mean, Burkhead's gone. There's no Gillisley anymore. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no running backs in his way. You got Sony Michel as the bell cow and James White playing that perfect Austin Eckler-like role.
13, 14, 15 points a game without a touchdown.
Right.
Without a touchdown.
So here's my thing. This week was the first week with Edelman back, too, though.
And he still did it.
I know,
Yeah.
but as Edelman gets more, back into sync, I think it's going to hurt James White a little bit. Now,
I get it.
I don't.
I don't think he's going to fall down below, 10, 15 points a game, but don't expect these 25 to 30 points a game.
Yeah, we just did trash on Isaiah Crowell, and so our James White did average 0.0 yards per carry
Correct.
in this game too.
Correct.
Right.
So
That happens, but that's not James White's game. James White's game is
He's a
being
slot receiver.
Tom Brady's safety.
he ain't no slot receiver. He's
basically.
I mean, I get it. He probably should be, but
He lines up in the backfield and runs out for passes.
Right. And
Yes.
speaking of slot receivers, Kenyon Drake was your number 7 running back in at least our league format, and that's because he can break them when he gets a chance.
Absolutely.
He caught a touchdown pass. He catches balls.
Absolutely.
If you give it to him behind the line of scrimmage and let him do that, there's a chance he can take it as far as the passes that
Jonah.
he's catching.
why Adam Gase feels the need or feels obligated to play Frank Gore?
Adam Gase is a turd. That's why.
The guy doesn't know what he's doing, and he's a head football coach.
I won't stay on this long, but every time Miami hires a coach, the world is filled with promise, and it's garbage. They bring in the craziest personalities I've ever seen. Joe Philbin was like watching Mr. Rogers on the sideline tell players, it's okay that you fumbled. It's okay that you threw that interception. Pat on the back. It's okay that you totally missed that assignment. We'll get him next time, killer. Here's a participation ribbon. Adam Gase stands on the sidelines, arms crossed, with this snobby freaking look on his face like, I am Adam Gase. I am the savior of the Dolphins. And he is playing Frank Gore. I'll move on. David Johnson back into the top 10. Joe Mixon and McCaffrey rounded out with a little Alfred Blues sprinkled on top.
Yeah, David Johnson jumped down to him. Not a big yardage game. Gets his 2 touchdowns. Ends up in the top 10. Man, to me, that's still struggling. The 2 touchdowns is almost fluky at this point. It wasn't 2 years ago for David Johnson, but at this point, he only netted 80 yards total between the receiving and rushing. I mean, scary offense. If you can get something for David Johnson, alert, trade David Johnson right now if you can get someone believing that he's going to put up 20-something point games.
I like the volume he's getting, though, because with the
2
volume,
receptions?
No. I'm talking about the rushing volume. I like the rushing volume that David Johnson's getting despite his struggles. They're not just giving up on him.
I get it, but it's still 3 1/4 yards a carry.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, it's bad. That's what I'm saying. He's struggling.
He is struggling. I'm just saying, like, as a buy. Go ahead, Arms. I like the volume.
But let's also realize Beathard, as bad as Bortles was in the other game, Beathard fumbled, twice in this game, lost both of them, and threw 2 interceptions. So, he didn't really need the yardage, but I'm also not sure he was going to get it anyway.
What's Beathard have to do with Johnson?
They're playing in the same game.
Okay.
He's giving the ball back to him, and
I got you.
And they're
Okay.
back on that side of the field, So, to me, that's saying, well, the 2 touchdowns were probably because they only had 20 yards to get to the end zone.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I agree with that 100%.
3 yards a carry, though.
Is it time?
ugly.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
saying that
no,
he's
he's
the one
not.
who got him there. I'm saying
Yeah.
that he happened to be at the one whenever they plunged it in.
Is it time to consider Wendell Smallwood as a serious possibility to lead the Eagles in rushing yards for the rest of the season?
I'm not banking on anything. I'm totally confused by the Philadelphia Eagles backfield right now. To me, they need to commit.
Injuries are playing a part. I mean, Wendell Smallwood wouldn't even be out there if not for injuries.
But come on, we knew coming into it, it was going to be a timeshare between 3 people.
Right.
You know, it was going to be Ajayi, Sproles, and Clement. Now you're
But when
shrinkling down into Smallwoods.
but when
Yeah,
Sproles
and I
was
shouldn't say
healthy,
rushing leader. I mean, best running back because he's more of a pass.
Their
catcher.
best option.
But when Sproles was there, they didn't even play Clement. Sproles gets hurt. They're like, all right, just feed it to Clement. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're just going to start giving it back to Ajayi. Here, come here, Wendell. Come here. Now that Corey's hurt a little bit, we're going to give you the ball. It's like, man, I don't even know who to play. I'm just going to trade all of them.
For whatever I can get.
Yeah, give me certainty.
But-
Give me that Juzinski or whatever it is from the Niners. He's getting 10 points a game lately.
Right.
But to answer your question directly, no, Wendell Smallwood's not relevant and will not be going forward when they're healthy, when the rest of the backfield gets healthy.
I actually tend to agree. Let's also talk about the return of Mr. Mixon. He got it done.
Return of the Mac.
Return of the mix.
of the Mac.
The mix. Hey, 22-93, 22 carries, 93 yards. It's nice to see him have his high attempt, his high volume game coming off of the injury, so you know he's healthy. They're ready to feed him the ball. Joe Mixon, I think he goes right back into form where he started the season against the Colts. What he did against the Dolphins, I think you can bank on him being. Can you bank it? I think you can bank on him being a top 10 running back the rest of the year out if he's healthy.
I'm going to say probably closer to 5. I mean, closer to 5 than 10 for me. He might be, 6th or 7th, but I mean, Mixon's looked good every opportunity that every time that he's got the line share of the carries, he's looked pretty dominant. Now, of course, I was worried about him being on a pitch count this week. There was a little bit of a concern, but 22 carries, there's no more worries.
No.
I mean, it's his backfield.
Involved in the passing game.
Yeah. I
If
mean,
he's playing,
he's
he's
a
getting volume.
he has the ability to be a 3-down back. Now, are they still going to work in Gio? Absolutely.
A little bit.
On the passing downs, absolutely. But this is Joe Mixon's backfield, and that's it. There we say it. That's a good Bengals team.
Mixon was the only running back that got a carry.
Really, I didn't see that.
Only running back that got a carry.
I don't think they had a healthy back on the roster besides him.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Gio's out. I think Mark Walton's banged up. You can't bring back Corey Dillon. I mean, there's just not many options there besides Mixon. Luckily for Mixon owners.
There's been a few Icky Woods sightings, but it's usually in 1980s team reunions on the field. So, though Icky, still a big dude, he can play fullback for him.
I'll guarantee it. He's a monster.
Let's talk wide receivers. We were saying on the last episode, and please God, hopefully you listen to us as well as the rest of the fantasy community, because this was a pretty universal topic heading into Week 5. Don't sell Odell Beckham. Like, don't think that he's trash because he hadn't scored a touchdown. Odell Beckham was your number 1 wide receiver for the week, and it's because he's Odell Beckham. And it's because he's the best quarterback on the Giants. He's the best quarterback.
He's definitely got more mobility.
I'm sorry,
There's
man.
no
That was a
doubt.
pretty throw. It had a little too much hang time.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty throw.
Well, he had pressure in his face, so he didn't get to drive the football downfield. But in his defense, it was on target.
Right.
I mean, he also had
Sterling Shepard wasn't pissed off over that throw, as he was on all of Eli's other ones.
Yeah. It was super exciting to watch.
But that throw was to Saquon, wasn't it?
It was to Saquon, yes. I'm not sure where Sterling came in, but
Sterling was going off on the sideline,
the
like
accuracy
Sterling
thing.
was
Oh, yeah.
watching. I was saying Sterling watched it. He's like, "Dang,
I thought
I don't have to go punch a bench."
I thought that's what you meant, and then Arms threw me off a little bit there.
or return a punt or return a kick here.
Right.
No.
Punch a bench.
Punch a bench.
I'm gonna punch a bench.
Man, you gonna make Wayne Brady punch a bench?
I'm gonna have to punch a bench.
Smack a bench? Choke a bench?
But Devontae Adams was your number 2. Antonio Brown did Antonio Brown things. And then let's talk about Arms' favorite meme guy, Robbie Anderson.
Robbie freaking Anderson.
Robbie Anderson. Oh, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Had himself a game yesterday.
All 3 catches. It's just he made them count.
Correct. And that's what Robbie Anderson does. He's not a high target, high volume reception guy. If he catches one, chances are it's streaking towards the end zone a la Tyreek Hill light.
Yeah.
No. Just don't even talk about them in the same sentence. That is
why
Tyreek
hasn't done anything in a few games.
That is disrespectful to Tyreek Hill. Robbie Anderson hasn't done anything until this week.
Man, he was good last year, though. I mean, I'm not saying go out and buy Robbie Anderson. For all accounts, Terrell Pryor caught a touchdown.
But maybe play him. I mean,
you can probably
don't go
flex
get
him.
him, but if you have him, I know a lot of people are sitting Robbie Anderson right now. Do you continue to sit him until your other receivers are on bye weeks?
Well, yes, that's the only time I'm playing is on bye week. Week 1 reception, 41 yards and touchdown. Week 2, 3.5 points. Week 3, 5 points. Week 4, 3.8 points. And then, by the way, he still got his 2 or 3 catches, but this week he just happened to, take them all to the end zone. It seemed like 2 out of his 3 catches went for 6.
Yeah. Rounding out or moving down the top 10, DeAndre Hopkins is back. I mean, he's reemerged over the last few weeks, but slow start of the season. Just he's a top 5 guy, if not moving into that top 1 role. Then you go Minnesota.
Man, that Minnesota tandem
Minnesota.
I'm not just tooting my own horn here, but if you are one of those guys that are not afraid to have 2 receivers from the same team, I get a lot of people in my league saying like, hey, would you like to trade for Brandon Cooks? I really don't want Cooper and Cooks in the same league, and I'm like, why? They're both very, very good in fantasy. Why wouldn't you want to? Is that saying like if you have Antonio Brown and Juju, you want to trade one because you don't like having 2 from the same team? You're crazy. Stack them.
Yes,
stack them.
Preseason, it makes sense to an extent. You're just, I don't. One's going to be hot, one's going to be not. But then you get into the season, it's just like, no, they're just both talented, and they're going to demand their volume,
right.
Get their catches. In this case, get touchdowns on the same week. I mean, it's just stack them, and pack them. Let's play them Vikings.
Yes, Demaryius Thomas had a little bit of a comeback, which was nice to see. I guess we're Cortland Sutton guys, so we don't like him as much.
I'm actually an Emmanuel Sanders type of guy.
Oh God!
Actually, even though I'm a Raiders fan, I like all 3 of their receivers, but it's more for fantasy purposes. Good on Demaryius, man. I mean, he's struggled a little bit this year. I mean, it's good to see him kind of come back to form. I mean, he was kind of not quite himself last year, and you really thought he was going to start regressing severely. And I mean, he looks like he's starting to come around.
Yeah, hey, Emmanuel Sanders is leading that wide receiving core through week 5.
Next 2 guys that rounded out the top 10 are 2 guys that you need to have in your lineups every week that are going to finish as top 10 guys.
Dude,
Galladay and Cooper Kupp.
They're so good.
They are so good. They are going to be top 10 receivers all year long. I actually was able to trade for Lev Bell, and what did I give up? Cooper Kupp. I got Lev Bell because Cooper Kupp is an asset.
I'm with you because I was about to.
But I was happy to accept.
I was about to go at it and say, if somebody has a Galladay and a Cooper Kupp, try to give him like, dare I say, Michael Thomas and something smaller because you're going to end up with more consistency with, Galladay being your number 2 and Cooper Kupp being your number 1 than most likely whoever you got is that you're giving up with Thomas. Now I'm not saying give up Thomas and Odell Beckham Jr., but guys, those are consistently stud receivers.
And they're still sort of buy low guys.
Yeah, that's my point.
I mean, as good as they've both been, they haven't, emerged as superstars, and they both have other things around them that you could argue, whether it's Brandon Cooks or Robert Woods, you could say, well, Cooper Kupp's just on a hot streak, man. I'll give you a little bit for him. You can kind of BS a guy, I guess is what I'm saying. You could do the same thing with Kenny Galladay with Golden Tate up there. You say they're not the number 1.
There you go.
You say, they're not even the number 1. They are, but,
I mean, now I'm not whenever I say give a little something else with it, I'm saying like Robbie Anderson is that little something else.
Felicia.
Something, something with low value.
Let's play it. Look, you have Michael Thomas, Robbie Anderson. I have Cooper Kupp, Kenny Galladay.
Oh, God, give me Kupp Galladay.
all day.
Okay.
Yeah, and speaking of stacking,
Yeah.
Robert Woods
That
was
makes
the
sense.
12 receiver. So, I mean, again, Rams, I'm actually trying to acquire Brandon Cooks in one league that I have Cooper and Woods in.
The
I
number
want a
3
triple
receiver?
stack. I want to triple stack.
Does Wendy's have a triple stack?
Yes.
Yes, they
do. They?
A triple baconator at that, I
It's
think.
on the secret menu.
You have to look like mere arms to get it.
You roll up in there weighing, have like a 30% body fat, and they're like,
Would you like to see our special menu?
"Would you, sir?" They just slide me the black leather-bound menu.
Yes.
I'm like,
Has the quadruple?
Yeah, that you open up and you have to have a special flashlight to read the menu. Triple.
it's actually
Baconator.
so when your cholesterol gets to a certain point, you can actually start reading the different letters that are in like an off-white. And I'm like, oh yes, I'll take the triple stack. Here's my Wendy's platinum card.
Yeah.
It has Wendy on it with platinum colored hair. All right, we better keep going into these receivers. But Galladay, we called some Marquez Valdez-Scantling having a good game, and he
You did. I did not.
And Christian Kirk was up there. Keenan Allen also, was serviceable as well. He did well in receptions and yards.
Even though I missed the show, I was going to call Trent Taylor and David Moore in the top 15.
Yeah,
I
but,
wanted to mention
You were
that.
going to call David Moore?
Yeah, I had him queued up. Played him in DFS totally.
Always easy to do it after the fact.
That's
isn't it,
totally
Arms?
sarcastic. But
I wish.
who
they
is
knew.
David Moore and where's he from?
Listen, I called
sounds-
Chester Rogers as a breakout this week. Not really.
I'm gonna be
David
honest
Moore
with you.
sounds like my attorney.
I'll be honest with you. I genuinely, wholeheartedly do not know who David Moore is.
Well, let's go ahead and decide. He's a 23-year-old second-year wide receiver out of East Central.
He's Central High School
East
in
Central
like
High
Detroit.
Yes.
don't know.
Are we buying him?
No.
Okay. And by the way, Mike Davis didn't do crap this game. Nick, just wanted to throw that out there.
You're
for you.
welcome. Kiki Kuti in the top 20 with
dude,
half a game.
Do you love me, Kiki?
Dude, I do love Kiki. He's involved in jet sweeps, tosses,
Absolutely.
receiving court. There's another couple, three-headed monster, Will Fuller, Nook and him. I mean, Deshaun Watson looked awesome last night. He looked awesome at times last night. Kiki went down. They kind of scuffled in the second half, but that could be a very good offense if they find a running game.
By the
Could
way,
be.
I'm going to correct you. Mike Davis did have 68 yards and a touchdown. Like, the touchdown salvaged his day a little bit. No,
68 yards ain't horrible.
He didn't get the. Well, yeah, he played okay, but he didn't get the bulk of the carries. I don't believe, right? I mean, they
Correct.
Carsoned it up again.
12 versus 19. Carson broke 100. So.
I didn't say what I said on Mike Davis is he's the best running back on there. I didn't say that they were going to play him.
You called him his buy.
Did
you
I?
said you're buying him all day long. You said.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll still buy him.
Okay.
They'll figure it out that it's more on Chris Carson. Chris Carson's terrible.
I'll give him half of a double stack for him.
We're in wide receivers though.
All right.
I would I want some of that triple stack. I'm kind of pissed. I've never had a triple stack.
Well, gain some weight, bro.
Come in with me and Barker.
Yep, we'll.
They give me the bacon hater menu when I walk in. I'm
bacon
like,
hater. They're like, sir,
I need some
you don't
fat."
need bacon.
Listen, sir, here's the vegetarian menu.
Right.
They're like, but I like my meat fresh, never frozen.
We
You're
have
obvious-
a wide
you're
selection of
obviously-
salads and
Yes.
chili.
You're obviously a runner, so why don't you run out the door on down to Vegan Hut?
So Subway's next door.
Right.
Get out of here. Yeah.
All right.
Let's talk some tight ends as we wrap this show up. We'll hit on some IDP in an episode to come here in a couple days.
What are we talking about?
Tight ends. Eric Ebron is officially a tight end beast. I don't know if Jack Doyle coming back will change that, but he is a red zone target, is Eric Ebron. And Captain Andrew Luck loves to throw. Dearest mother, a man named Eric of Ebron came in. I wanted to do some Captain Andrew Luck like narration from his tweets.
It was pretty good. It's just hard to maintain.
It is hard to maintain, especially when time is of the essence. But Austin Hooper was your number 3 tight end this week, folks.
Yeah, you can expect that every 5 weeks.
Luke. Yes, he shall follow this up with 2 consecutive weeks of 1 catch for 7 yards.
No,
Got to keep that average, guys. Got to keep that average.
let's not. Yeah, I'll give you the. Well, let's just get into it. Pittsburgh gives up the most points to tight ends, and they proved it again. So they made Austin Hooper relevant.
If Austin Hooper is relevant, you are playing a defense that loves letting the tight end run wide open.
And that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. Yes. Kelsey Ertz, Jimmy Graham up there.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham's going to have his games.
It was game flow. It was, what was it, 60 pass attempts?
Yeah.
Basically, for Aaron Rodgers.
Now, here's another call I'd like to make on the show. Is it the end of Rob Gronkowski as a top 3 tight end?
No. As a top 3, maybe, but that's just an emergence thing, not necessarily a bat on Gronk.
I don't know about emergence. Tight end landscape still sucks.
I mean, I was just sorting through it and happened to notice that Austin Hooper, with 202 yards, I believe, is a top 10 tight end.
Yeah, well,
like ninth, 210 or 202 yards.
All right, Paul Niles was your number 7 overall for Jacksonville, so I mean it happens.
Eric swoop. I mean, are you stacking Indianapolis tight ends?
No.
Go Ebron, swoop and Jack
flex?
Doyle.
No.
You can swoop the flex.
No, at Wendy's there is no Indy part of the menu. There's no stacking in Indy.
All right. George Kittle's going to end up at top 5 tight end. Ends up number 9 this week, but that's a bad game for him.
That is a bad game. A double-digit game is a bad game for George Kittle. You know what? The worst decision I made all week was trading with arms to acquire Kittle and then starting him over Ebron. Worst decision I've made in a long time.
Well, I have Travis
Well,
Kelce.
fantasy football. I've seen you make worse decisions. Just not fantasy football.
This season.
Just not this week.
This season.
Just not this week.
Yeah.
Now, I will trade you back, and I will gladly let George Kittle sit on my bench
I'm still taking antibiotics.
until Travis Kelce has a concussion or something, and I'll have me some Kittle down the middle starting.
Right. Yeah, nothing wrong with starting him. I wish I'd played Ebron. I don't think it would have mattered because I got killed this week, even though I'm the second highest scoring team in the league this week. But
frustrating.
Hey,
now my decision for next week is tough. Do I roll with Kittle or Ebron? Do I try to make it matchup dependent? I don't know what to do.
They're both top 5 tight ends.
I know.
I think you trade one of them.
I've been trying to trade Ebron, but nobody's a believer.
Yeah.
Nobody's a believer in Kittle except for me and you, apparently. It's like, look at his stats. He's better than almost everybody. Like, come on, just give it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of the one bust because the landscape sucks so bad, Jared Cook killed you. He killed you this week.
Once again, this is the Jared Cook thing. Up, down, up, down. He's like a song or something. Up, down, up, down. Who's that? Florida Georgia Line or something? That's your favorite band, isn't it?
Who
They're
cares?
A band? They play music?
And
Come on, talk
Pittsburgh's
about-
tight ends killed you too.
Please talk about David Njoku, somebody.
He is serviceable. David Njoku is serviceable. He 12.9 points in our league since Baker has stepped into the fold. Njoku is much.
He's got
more
bricks for hands,
playable.
though. He's got bricks for hands.
He absolutely does, but he's also he got 11 targets yesterday.
That's where I'm going with this.
I mean, it's when you got that many targets, you can drop 5 of them and still be decent.
I did. That was the one other game I caught a decent chunk of. I did catch a little bit of the second half, and he had he just dropped them. I mean, he's just not a good tight end. I don't think 11 targets is going to be the norm for him. He's more of a 7-target drop half, maybe 3 or 4 reception guy.
Right. I couldn't agree more. And to wrap it up, let's take you through some IDP. Knit, Arms, you are excused. Go take your children to school and have a wonderful day.
Oh, thanks, guy. Oh, I appreciate that.
Yep. No problem, dude. Just go ahead. So anyways, IDP-wise, guys that got it done for you this week, J.J. Watt still asserting his dominance. Not the biggest week in Week 5, but he did still have a sack, which was great to see out of J.J. Watt. I think it's safe to say that he is officially back. You can roll him out. Joseph Limbaugh had a fluky touchdown last night, but Melvin Ingram finally did what Melvin Ingram is supposed to do without Joey Bosa, put up 16 points in our league format, which included a sack, but also had some tackles, which was nice to see out of Melvin Ingram. Chandler Jones, right there with Chris Jones as the 3 and 4 defensive ends this week. Chris Jones is a guy that has a lot of upside and that I thought has had a lot of upside for a long time. It's just sack upside. The guy doesn't really give you any tackles, but he did have a sack and a pass defense. So he was good for your number 4 defensive end this week. Sam Hubbard got into the end zone. Sam Hubbard has actually been pretty decent for the Bengals, more real life than fantasy, but he was a good play this week as well. Switching on over to linebackers that helped you out this week, Josh Bynes was your top linebacker, along with T.J. Watt and L.J. Ford, battles of the initials for Pittsburgh. Hassan Reddick also had a great game, his first great game as a Arizona linebacker this year. And Leighton Vander Esch, rookie for Dallas. Sean Lee out, Vander Esch capitalized, scoring 18 points in our league format. Rounding out the top 10, Jamie Collins, Jalen Smith, Jayon Brown, Jerome Baker. Arms called it last week, said he was going to keep it up. Jerome Baker did keep it up. Top 10 finish this week. And Telvin Smith, kind of a guy that's been dipping. High peaks, low peaks, and valleys. Telvin Smith hasn't been exactly what he normally is, which is usually a pillar of consistency. Still good for a top 10 week. And then you had Cleveland linebackers Schobert and Kirksey. And our boy Matt Milano, still a starter for you. I believe in Matt Milano. He's a buy to me because he's not a big name. You can get him cheap. Matt Milano is definitely a guy that I'm buying. He's my linebacker buy of the week. Matt Milano, if you can get him, go out and get him. Anthony Hitchens, Blake Martinez were in the top 20, as well as Nick Vigil. Nick Vigil's another guy I'm buying, if at all possible. He has done nothing but put up numbers in IDP leagues this season, so he's a great one to go out and grab. As far as disappointments, C.J. Mosley has not looked right since coming back from injury. Has yet to have a big game, so he's not a sell. He's a hold, but you may want to wait to start him until that first big game happens, and then they'll probably trickle in from there. Kiko Alonso, a little bit of a down week. Still double digits in our league format, but he did kind of hurt you this week if you were counting on those big Kiko Alonso numbers. Looks like Jerome Baker is kind of evening that linebacker core out a little bit. Defensive back, we said it all off season. Budda Baker was a huge buy this week. He was going to be a tackle machine. He proved that this week. He was the number 1 defensive back overall. Huge week for Budda Baker. If you listened and bought him, congratulations. Devin McCourty, also pillar of consistency, was your number 2. Marcus May had a huge game. We talked about him as well. Jamal Adams, great defensive back, but don't overlook Marcus May. He could put up numbers for you any given week. Since he's came back from injury, he's been nothing but great. Glover Quinn, Antoine Bethea, Mike Adams. Mike Adams had 2 interceptions in the game yesterday. That's kind of fluky. I wouldn't go out rushing to buy him. Patrick Chung, another New England Patriot defensive back, had a good game. Wouldn't go rushing out to buy him either. Now, here's an interesting one. We talk about Budda Baker for Arizona. Trey Boston for Arizona has been really good IDP-wise in fantasy this season. Right now, I do believe he's a top 10 overall DB, and he did the same thing yesterday, finishing as the number 9. Another guy that's a surprise, Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward's the real deal. Denzel Ward has played lights out for Cleveland, and yesterday he got an interception and 3 pass defenses. Denzel Ward is a very good player. Don't know if I'd feel comfortable starting him week in and week out, but he is really, really good. So Denzel Ward, congrats to Cleveland for hitting on their draft picks. Another win yesterday for them. That's 2 wins in the books for Cleveland. We thought it'd be 2 ties. It didn't happen, luckily. Cleveland rocks, baby. Cleveland rocks. Guys that hurt you in IDP on the defensive back side of the ball. We didn't see a Landon Collins sighting. We didn't see Jesse Bates put up very good numbers, and he's been a guy we've been pretty high on. Justin Reed and Malik Hook are guys we've talked about. They put up double digits for you, which was nice to see out of those guys. But there's a lot, like we always say in defensive backland, there's a lot of names you don't normally see rounding out the top 20 to 30. So it's a very hard position to call. The Honey Badger finished outside the top 30. Landon Collins, Patrick Peterson, Terrell Edmonds for Pittsburgh. These guys all finished outside of the top 30. Jamal Adams, Kevin Byard. They kind of hurt you. So, again, I don't go out rushing to buy defensive backs unless they are very consistent. Budda Baker, I'm buying Budda Baker all year long. He could finish. He could very well finish as your top overall defensive back this season. I believe the words when I speak it because he's number 1 right now. Trey Boston actually number 2, which is crazy. Arizona's getting passed on left and right, so play your Arizona guys if you can. Bradley McDougald also had a good week. He's your number 3 overall season long, just looking at the total picture, as well as Jamal Adams and Derwin James. Derwin James, not a big week 5, but pretty good stuff out of Derwin James this season. But folks, that is going to wrap it up for our week 5 wrap up. We will probably touch on some more because the week was just full of stuff and we were on limited time. So we'll probably touch on some more in an episode in a day or two. Talk about a few more things that happened in week 5. But that's going to do it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoy the episode coming out, hitting your airwaves close to 9 a.m. Thanks again. Bark is out. Arms and Knit are already out. They left me, had to run the kids to school. That's life. That's how life treats you. Everybody have a good day.
This concludes another episode of the Back Row Fantasy Show. Thanks for listening, and be sure to give us a review.